I begin by acknowledging the contribution of our forefathers, who have helped in creating a world based on freedom and human dignity. I extend my respect to people of diverse cultures, faiths, colors, and genders, and pledge to work for equity, inclusivity, peace, and harmony. A very good morning to one and all present here. I, Priya Yadav, final year student of GME Media School, welcome you all to the fifth edition of the world's first 7-day hybrid international media conference, ICAN5. The International Media Conference ICAN5 is being organized by the DME Media School of Delhi Metropolitan Education in collaboration with the School of Communication and Creative Arts, Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia. I would like to take a moment and introduce Delhi Metropolitan Education to our viewers. Delhi Metropolitan Education, DME, is a A-grade premier educational institute affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Infrastructure University, New Delhi, and approved by the Bar Council of India. DME Media School is one of the most promising media institutes in the country. It offers BA in journalism and mass communication. It is recognized as a school focused on the growth of its faculty and students through academic and co-curricular activities. Major flagship events and initiatives of the school include Biju Varghese Lecture Series, Peer-to-Peer FTP, International Film Festival SIFI, International Conference ICANN, and Vritika Convention of Media Students. And newly added to the list is VIS Vibrant India Series. ICAN5 has come with the theme Inclusivity, Convergence, and Alternative Negotiation. ICAN5 has the support of 17 partners, including the International Association of Media and Communication Research, IAMCR Gen Section, and GMAC, Global Media and Education Council as the conference partner. Knowledge partners for ICAN5 are Makhalnal Chaturvedi University, Bhopal, Vigyan Prasad, Government of India, and KSF, Keshav Suri Foundation. For ICAN5 international partners are Institute for International Journalism, Ohio University, USA, Green University, Bangladesh, and Daffodil International University, Bangladesh. Media partner for ICAN5 are Amar Ujala, The Policy Times, Jai Hind Times, and The Hindi Post. ICAN5 is powered by Asian Media and Cultural Studies Network, Australia, India Film Practitioners and Researchers Network, Spark, the Student Council of GME Media School, and RIM, Research and Innovation in Media, Research Cell of GME. The conference is supported by NOTO, National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. Since 2018, DME Media School has been organizing the international conference ICANN. The themes for the former editions were India and Changing Aspects of News in ICAN1, Indian Cinema and Alternate Networks in ICAN2, Issues and Community Issues of Community, Agenda and News in ICAN3 with the hashtag Conference for Change. Information, Communication and Artificial Networks in ICAN4 with hashtag Communication Redefined. ICAN5 will witness a total of 26 sessions, including 18 live sessions, 5 hybrid sessions, and 3 physical sessions. The schedule comprises of 10 technical sessions, 3 workshops, 2 master classes, 2 plenary sessions, and 5 panel discussions. Proud to mention here that all 10 technical sessions are being chaired by women scholars representing different states and countries. It gives me immense pleasure that ICAN5 will go live on the official Facebook page of GME for various sessions. For more information, follow us on our social media handles. We will be sharing the links in the chat box. I invite Professor Dr. Ms. Saxena, Dean DME Media School, Director DME Studios and Production, and the convener of ICAN5 to give his opening remarks.
Thank you, Priya. I begin today by acknowledging the contribution of our forefathers who have helped in creating a world based on freedom and human dignity. I extend my respect to people of diverse culture, faith, color, and gender, and pledge to work for equity, inclusivity, peace, and harmony. Today is the second day of ICAN5. Only last evening we had a a very mammoth session of the inauguration, wherein people from different parts of the country and outside they joined, and which was very encouraging. The kind of support that we got in ICAN5 as extended by different scholars yesterday, that was really encouraging, and that has set the stage for the 7-day academic extravaganza. And on day 2, this is the first session. We have, as already been told, there are 10 technical sessions. So this is the very first technical session, which is on a very pertinent topic. And we are glad that Professor Shaheena Bhatti has agreed to chair this session. She is an eminent scholar from Pakistan. And as we all know that this time in ICAN5, we have put our focus on Indian subcontinent, wherein the scholars have joined from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So I welcome Professor Shaheena in this session, and I also welcome all those delegates who have joined and who are there for presenting their papers, and hopeful that a really fruitful session is ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. I am happy to share that Journalism at DME is the official newsletter of DME Media School. This fortnightly publication covers all the major activities happening in and out of the campus. It is a student-centric newsletter carried out entirely by them under the supervision of faculty members. DME TV is our official YouTube channel, where you can find the playlist related to all the sessions, lecture series, film festivals, and conferences. Today, we have gathered here for the first technical session, and the theme is gender neutrality, sexuality, and the representation of women and the other sex. The chairperson for the session is Dr. Shaheena Ayub Bhatti, and the co-chair is Sukriti Arora. Before we proceed, I would like our participant to know more about the session chairperson. Dr. Shaheena Ayub Bhatti, Professor of English and the Director of Women's Research and Resource Center, Fatima Jinnah Women University, Rawalpindi, Pakistan. She holds a postdoctorate in American Indian Studies from the University of Arizona. She completed her PhD in English from the National University of Modern Languages, Islamabad. She has supervised 14 PhDs and 23 MPhils. She has 30 research articles published in HCC recognized journals, along with several national and international publications in her name. Dr. Shaheena has been the driving force in organizing numerous international and national level conferences, workshops, seminars, webinars, and interactive sessions. We are honored to have such a visionary and researchers of excellence with us today. I now request the session co-chair Sukriti Arora to please begin.
Thank you, Priya. And I again extend a very warm welcome to all the participants, to our dignitaries, and especially to Dr. Shaheena Bhatti for joining us today as the session chair. Ma'am, we would like to hear from you once the presentations have started. So with your permission, can we ask the first person now to present their paper?
Sure, go ahead.
So the first presentation is by Dr. Sapna. Dr. Sapna, please turn on your cameras, and I request the technical persons to please make her the co-host.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible and visible as also.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you so much. Sukriti ma'am, can you make the presentation full screen, please? Thank you
I have
so
made
much.
it, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. The topic for today's presentation is adaptation of Manju Kapoor's novels in entertainment media. I am from English background basically, and the past, I would say, 10-12 years, and there are two reasons why I have chosen English and media in my presentation. First is because when I researched on Manju Kapoor, her works were mainly, they were adapted into television serials or movies. And second is because in English literature, now a new subject is introduced, I would say, new in the sense that for the past 10-12 years, that is popular fiction. In popular fiction, there is an overlapping of literature as well as media also. So about this today's presentation of adaptation of Manju Kapoor's novels in entertainment media, over the years, actually, there has been a popular trend of film adaptations of literary text in the West, and people, with the shows, there are many shows which have been, made as film adaptations from the literary text. And television and soap operas have become inevitable part of Indian household. And these soaps, they continue to entertain us until they lose their story tag in the race of maintaining the TRPs. Hence, it is quite interesting to study that some of the highest rated television shows are based on literary works, mainly novels, I would say. So this has got dual advantage. One, because it is good for those who are not book readers, so that they can visualize it in the form of soaps. And second is, those who are book readers, they want to see their characters, the portrayal of their characters in the form of, I would say that they have been converted into TV serials or movies. So the reasons behind the creation of the adaptations are diverse, ranging from bringing of a literary text to a wider audience, sometimes to cash in the cultural respectability and popularity, or sometimes to comment upon or develop an aspect of original text. So the process of adaptation, like the process of linguistic translation, is itself a creative act of authorship that results in a variant version, or but in a distinctively original text, right? Ma'am, next slide, please. So this is the topic that I have chosen. Manju Kapoor. Manju Kapoor's novels mainly has been adapted into, I would say, entertainment media. But here in this presentation, I am taking her two books, two novels. One is Custody, that has been, converted into entertainment media as a serial, that is Ye Hai Mohabbatein. And second is A Married Woman, which has been, adapted as A Married Woman under the same title in a web series. So Manju Kapoor, when you talk about Manju Kapoor, it is she's one of the true exponent of feminism in modern English fiction, who has framed her fame through her first 5 novels, I would say: Difficult Daughters, A Married Woman, Home, The Immigrant, and Custody. So she is in league with those women writers who highlight the plight of women and varied facets of personality. Now, she is known for writing women-oriented novels. Now, talking about this novel, Custody, so here she is talking about the custody of the children. She is talking about how the broken marriages, they lead to, I would say, they lead to the disintegration of the families. They lead to how the mental state of the children, right? And in this case is Ruhi, how the mental state of children, so how it gets suffered in that. So Custody is a book that delves into the bitter depths of broken marriage and ensuing the battle of divorced couple Raman and Shagun to become the ultimate custodians of their teenager son Arjun and their adorable sweet daughter Ruhi. So the novel contains the most radical approach of custody, one which challenges the true and dedicated love of stepmother, that is Ishita, on one hand, and the self-possessed diabolic biological mother, that is Shagun over here. Now, talking about the Hindi adaptation or the television adaptation of this, the name Ye Hai Mohabbatein, the title encapsulates the essence of soap much more precisely. So it has to its credit the multiple layers of meaning, as it reveals not only the romantic relationship between the couple, I would say the love triangle between the couple, Raman, Ishita, and Shagun, but it also tells us the intense emotional bonding between Ishita, Raman, and Shagun's daughter, Ruhi. So it also denotes the various relationships portrayed in the soaps, mainly mother-daughter relationship, sibling relationship, and familial relationship. Now, the television adaptation of this, so Divyanka Tripathi has played, I would say, the lead role of Ishita, and then Raman and then Ruhi is there. Now, talking about this particular adaptation, it is not that custody has been, adapted in Hindi only or in Hindi television serial only, but it has been adapted, Ye Hai Mohabbatein on Star Plus, and then in Marathi also, then in Malayalam also, Tamil also, Kannada also, Telugu, and finally in Bengali as well. So we can say that when you visualize the literary adaptation or the television adaptation of this literary text, so initially what I found when I was going through this serial is, initially it was actually what was written in the novel, but because the TRP was to be, arisen, so that is why there were some contents which were not there in the book, but which were there in the television adaptation. Now, moving on to the second novel, next slide, please, ma'am. Yeah, second novel, A Married Woman. A Married Woman is about lesbianism. It talks about the relationship between the two women. Both of them are married, right? But both of them, they go one step ahead. And this particular novel, it talks about, how a married woman, superficially, we can say that she has a happy married life. She's a mother of, I would say, son and daughter. She has a loving husband and a very good financially stable husband. She has very good in-laws also. But, on the other hand, she has some hidden desires which she wants to fulfill. So here we can say that the Kapoor's preoccupation with the female revolt against the deep-rooted family values and the institution of marriage is followed through her novels. And here in this Married Woman, the protagonist of the novel, Astha's lesbian relationship with Pippi is a derivative expression of Astha's feminist awakening within a patriarchal structure. There are two lines which I would like to read from the novel. Here, Astha, the protagonist of the novel, she says, "I have a fantasy. Listen, my love, and do not laugh. It is not much. I think it is not much. I have a room, small but private, where my family pass before my eyes. It is very light. Before me is the wall which divides the house, but I can see my children. That satisfies me. Though to them I am invisible. That satisfies me too also." So in this novel, the title of Manju Kapoor's novel, it gives the clearer understanding of Astha's perspective, which is largely shaped by her identification with the institution of the marriage. Now, the daughter of Astha is the daughter of a middle-class North Indian family. She was brought, I quote, "was brought up properly as befits of a woman with large supplements of fear." Now, her friend, right, or I would say her partner, Pippi, both of them are victims. One is the victim of domestic violation, while the other is the victim of social violation. And Pippi becomes widow when her husband dies in a riot. Now, talking about the television adaptation, or you can say the web series adaptation, Balaji and Z5, they had announced their new project under the same title, that is A Married Woman, and Ekta Kapoor shared the teaser of the web series led by Riddhi Dogra and Monica Dogra. Now the teaser begins with a narration that tells the audience how Supreme Court's judgment on Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, which criminalized sexual conduct between adults of the same sex, healed a wound of 27 years. Now here I would be quoting the words from Ekta Kapoor. So she says, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. Rather, we are spiritual beings having a human experience." Now she writes with hashtag A Married Woman, a love story based on Manju Kapoor's famous book, Ek Aisi Kahani, that began during the times of political unrest in the country. So I would say, because this was not extended too much, this book, A Married Woman, and the web series, they were quite, I would say, reflection of each other as compared to Ye Hai Mohabbatein and custody. So basically, I have discussed these two novels in my presentation, but a little bit of, next slide, please. Another novel that is Immigrant, and that has been adapted into Pardes Mein Hai Mera Dil. So it is an Indian television series. This is also produced by Ekta Kapoor under her banner Balaji Telefilms on Star Plus. The storyline set in Austria, and it is inspired by Manju Kapoor's novel, that is The Immigrant. It was shot on the locations near India, Vienna, and the series stars Drishti Dhami as Nana, and Arjun Bijlani as Raghav. Now, it went off air, I think, on 30th June 2017. Now, to conclude my presentation, so I would say, last slide, please. Yeah. So my paper, my study, it brings into light the fact that soaps based on books do not stay true to the source of matter for as long as the open-ended format of the soaps demand much melodrama, which cannot be satisfied through the limited materials in the source text. So whatever is written in the book, if you I would say simply translate or simply adapt it into the television series, it may not satisfy the hunger of watching the Saas Bahu sagas in the series, television series or web series. Hence, a very faithful adaptation seems to be impossible, for the makers of these shows often get stretched for many years and the story alters as per the audience's response. Unlike what is written in the book, the story is modified, the story is changed, and it is customized according to the tastes of the taste of the audience, and eventually it turns into Saas Bahu sagas. The immense popularity of the adaptation in question, which even eclipses that of a parent material, intensifies debates on three things, I would say: originality, authenticity, and fidelity. Now, granted, popularity alone cannot be the merit of literary merit and identity of a text, but immense impact on the adaptation has on popular consciousness that cannot be overlooked. So things are always lost, things are always gained in translation. The text, as such, in a state of constant flux, at what point of such dynamic metamorphic process does an adaptation remain faithful, and at what point does it become an entirely discrete text of its own? This is the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. Sapna. I request if Dr. Shaheena Professor Shaheena has any questions. Okay, I think ma'am had gotten exited, so let's just wait for 1 minute. Please make her the co-host again. Please make the chairperson a co-host, Dr. Shaheena Ayub Bhatti. Vishal sir, can you hear me?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the power just went, so I'm now connecting from my phone.
Okay, ma'am, not an issue. Were you able to hear the presentation?
Yeah, I did hear most of it. The power went off when she was just winding up.
All right, ma'am. If you have any questions from the presenter, you may ask, or else we'll move to the next presenter.
I do have one question. Dr. Sharma, we still have Dr. Sharma here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Thank you for such a wonderful presentation. And I'm sorry, I just went offline right at the end. It was very enlightening to hear your study of Manju Kapoor's works and the adaptations. Could you just elaborate on what differences or similarities you see in the adaptation of literary texts?
Ma'am, when I saw Ye Hai Mohabbatein on television, so talking about Ishita's family or talking about Raman's family, I could not see many, I would say the behavior of many characters which have been portrayed in the television series, right? The family had been very supportive in the novel. Uh, Even when Ishita was not, she was not getting pregnant, she was not having a baby, the family is very supportive. Here also the family is supportive, but sometimes the tone of the mother becomes very harsh in the television series, which I did not find the same in the novel. And after some time, when the series is going on, especially towards the ending of that, there was, I would say, so much masala which was neither in the book and not was required. Because I had read the novel, so I could see those people who have not read the novel, maybe they'll be happy because the story is continuing. But once when you have read the novel, then you can see that this is simply the extension of what was not there in the novel.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much.
I think with the permission of Dr. Saxena, we'll go on with the next presentation. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was nice, giving a presentation under you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sapna and Dr. Shaheena. I would like to remind our participants that the presentation time is 10 minutes. Of course, I will give a verbal reminder once you are exceeding the time limit, and 1 more minute extra will be provided. Plus, we will have 2 to 3 minutes of conversation with Dr. Shaheena if she has any questions, or in case the participants want to ask any questions, they can post in the chat box. Dimpy Verma is our next presenter. She's from Amity School of Communication, Amity University. Ms. Dimpy, you can share your screen and start with the presentation. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. So, the topic for my presentation is gender neutrality and breaking stereotypes and deep rooted gender bias. First of all, I would like to clear about gender neutrality. Gender neutrality, often referred to as gender neutralism or gender neutrality movement, is a law that language and other social roles or gender roles should refrain from making distinctions role based on people's gender or sex. So basically, gender neutrality stops us from specifying that particular gender is made for this particular role. It lack the gender of the lack of gender equality has historically had a substantial impact on wide range of societal issues, including parental practices, marketing, toys, and education. So in today's presentation, I'm going to talk about how all these things impact on our day to day or even our market area. So first of all, my literature review was based on these things. First of all, impact in market. When I say market, market is what I say a commerce of our country. So first of all, children's joy. How everything since our childhood lead us to a particular role, or I would say how it defines our gender or how we come up. So for example, when a infant is born, they are mostly, if it's a girl, they would be having pink color in their room or pink color clothes and toys, especially for girls. If it's a girl child, it would be Barbie dolls, soft toys, and if it's a boy, there would be robots and other things. So in market of children's toy, when I say how gender affects children's toy in market, would be this, that how since childhood we have been given or we have been taught that this is how this particular gender works. And then if I say fashion, when I say fashion, it's like we have, as a girl, we have this particular clothing, like we'll be wearing saris, we'll be wearing suits and other frocks and other clothes which are being always specified that this is for girl and this is for boy. And there have been other gender which people barely talk or don't acknowledge, that is transhuman. So now in this era, when we are, the transhumanist concept of gender neutrality, also called gender transcendence, aims to dismantle the cultural, biological, physical, and social roles that gender plays in society. So if we see now that postgenders believe that due to the revolutionary potential of improved assistive reproductive technologies, sex for the purpose of reproduction is not reproduction will either become extinct or that all post-gender people will be able to father children or carry pregnancies to term, eliminating the need for specific gender in such a society. Transhumanists believe that the post-genderism movement has directly led to change in gender neutrality. So, and that is what another part of a society. Now, when we say about education, education, first of all, dress code, that we have specific dress code for girls and boys. Girls would always be wearing either skirt or salwar suit if we talk about India, and boys would always be either they would have shorts as their school uniform or pants. So if we say dress code and if we talk about neutrality, we should have a dress form that is comfortable for both. Why is it that we always specify that this is for girls, this is for boys, this is what this particular gender would do, and this is what this particular gender would do? We need to know that this is not how we can go on in even in college. If we'll see in India or other parts, there are colleges that are specifically for girls, there are colleges specifically for boys. But in if we talk about neutrality, it's not about specifying things for one particular gender, it's about the whole. And then there are stereotypes that exist for all the genders of our society. First of all, men, that they need to be masculine, that they are the sole owner of the family, that they have to be strong, that they cannot show their emotions. If we say about women, they have to be fragile, they are more feminine, they are all about beauty. So why do we specify, why do we always put a particular role for a particular gender? If we are talking about neutrality, we need to clear that this is not what we want. And for this I had so for this research I collected the data in two ways. What is primary and second is secondary. So primary data, I had a survey which was in my college and around my surroundings. So for that I had this particular questions that I asked from the viewers, that first of all, house responsibilities, why are not house responsibilities being divided equally? So as per my research I came to know that in this era people are on the track of equality and they are trying to be neutral. So first of all, the question was, in your house responsibilities are same as your mother and father? So this is what I got as an answer. 59.3% said no, which means that we still lack equality. And if we have an aim to achieve neutrality, we need to have the equality. So, and then the next question was, what should be the basis of differentiation? Is it gender or is it capability? So people were clear that it should be capabilities. So my next question was, what according to you is gender neutrality, so that I know what people think. So there were these responses that I got from people. So few word I would like to read, that is, first, not distinguish anyone on basis of their gender. There were some people who were very reluctant to answer, like they just wrote nothing. Gender neutrality is the idea that policies, language, and other social institutions should avoid distinguishing roles according to people's sex or gender. The next question was, among the following, whom do you consider as a part of our society? Because if we see a society, most of the people would say men, women, or they would simply say about sex, that is female and male. But LGBT is also a part. So that's why I covered this survey. Then the next was that all genders in the society should have equal opportunities. People said yes. The next was that there should be gender neutral activities in our education as well as society. So when I asked this question, my idea was that when I say gender neutral activities, that is, there should be not be this activities for female only or this activities for male only. Then toys should not be gender specific, they should be gender neutral. This was something which I was like my main question, because gender, we have gender specific toys like Barbie dolls for girls, robots for boys. So shouldn't they be gender neutral, like both can play so that they can explore what they need? And the next one was, parents should not impose gender role on their kids while they're upbringing, like not specifying that this is what girls do and this is for boys do. In our society since our childhood we are being told that girls do the house chores, boys do the market work or the outside work. So this is what I wanted to convey. Next was government should impose gender neutral policies, which is just by most of the people. So when I say gender neutral policies, like not distinguishing, like we already have to treat people equally, so something that would make people neutral. Do you think stereotypes affect our gender role in our society? Which was yes. We have stereotypes for all the genders in our society, so they do impact our gender roles. Like if a man is being taught since his childhood that
Jimpi, I would
he
like to
needs to be
remind you
masculine,
that
he need to earn, he will be the sole provider. That is how he will be a prince. If
um,
he is if
Jimpi,
he
I
is
would
hun,
like to
yeah,
remind you that
yes, ma'am.
10 minutes are up. So please sum up your presentation in the next 1 minute. Thank you.
So when I say about stereotypes, it's like all the stereotypes that we have heard since our childhood defines our roles in our society. Like if I'm being hearing since childhood that I need to learn cooking because that's what a girl is supposed to do, and if my brother is hearing that he needs to be masculine and all the work outside he'll do, that will be how I'll be brought up. That will be thing in our mind, that and that will be what define our gender roles. So these were the findings. So my conclusion would be gender neutrality is still a hotly debate topic. It is important for people to understand that gender neutrality does not imply equality, but at the emphasizes the need to transcend the gender perspective rather than concentrating on the rights of various gender. Everybody has a right to the same advantages and chances. In the early years of 21st century, there are numerous development concerns to overcome in terms of producing fresh institutional norms and analytical framework. Gender and development research has a lot to offer. A civilization needs to educate itself on the importance of traits and behavior that are universally human regardless of gender. A society can only become gender neutrality by getting rid of gender stereotypes and social norms. We must let go of archaic practices and perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Jimpy Verma. I have just one question if there's none from the audience.
No, ma'am, we don't have any questions
Yes,
from
ma'am.
the audience yet. Jimpi, you can stop the screen sharing in the meantime.
Okay, ma'am.
Dimpy, you mentioned that you have used primary sources as well as secondary sources.
Yes, ma'am.
How do secondary sources help researchers in general in establishing the research premise?
So, ma'am, secondary research actually helps us to define because when we use secondary research, we are able to know that these all are the data that already exist when researching. So, when I research or if I say I research the scholar papers that were already existing, I was able to know that this particular data is already there. So, I have to work on things that doesn't exist before. So, for example, when I search gender neutrality, what is my topic? So, what I saw was that there were so many researchers that were only based on the female point. So, what I wanted to do was that my research should not be only based on one particular gender, rather than it should include the whole society.
Thank you for the answer. I think we can move on now, Sukriti.
Okay, ma'am, surely.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next presenter is Neelam Nanda Prabhat, Assistant Professor, Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Management Studies, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, New Delhi. Neelam, I think you're the co-host now and you can unmute yourself and turn on your camera as well.
Sukriti, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
And I guess my camera is also on and you
Yes,
can see
the
me.
camera is on, but the light is very less. Is there anything that we can do about it immediately?
No.
Okay, all right. You can start with your presentation.
So good morning, everyone. This is Neelam Nanda Prabhat. I'm assistant professor at Maharaja Agrasen, and I'm doing PhD from Amity University, Manesar. And this paper is from my PhD. It's a review paper. And the topic of my PhD is the communication strategies for the promotion of women-centric schemes, a Delhi-based study. My guide is Dr. Pooja Rana. So it's very important, and media has a vital role, has a responsibility to communicate all the informations, the policies, programs to the beneficiaries and to the all the people who can be benefited. And it is a platform, it's a bridge between the people and the government. It give a platform to the unheard people, the people who where their voice is not being heard by the government. They can go to the media and they can disseminate the information and the issue to the public. So the research objectives of my paper is to identify communication strategies for the promotion of women-centric schemes. Second, to find association between the media usage and audience response to the women-centric schemes. To explore the influence of economic, political, and social factors of communication strategies of women-centric schemes. To find out the effectiveness of different media platforms on variables like awareness, interest, desire to accept, and action to adopt reference to the campaigns to the target audience. So the paper which I have reviewed and the information which I have reviewed, I have categorized them. And apart from this, the schemes which I'll be taking are categorized on the basis of health, education, and safety. First is the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao scheme of 2015. Second is the Mahila Shakti Kendra of 2017. Delhi Ladli scheme of 2021. Janani Shishu Suraksha Karyakram 2011. Stop Center scheme Saki. Surakshit Matritva Ashwasan scheme 2019. Mission Indradhanush. Nirbhaya Fund, Ujjwala Yojana. These are the schemes which I have categorized, and I'll be working on the communication strategies of these schemes. Apart from this, the paper which I have reviewed are categorized in the 3 parameters. First is the communication tools and promotional strategies. Second, the report of UNO and UNICEF, information and communication technology, that is ICT. So the paper communication strategies for the women empowerment of a study of Haryana and Punjab. I'll be concluding all the paper's findings at the end. I'm just reading the titles of the paper and the year. This is 2015, and this study was done in Haryana and Punjab. Apart from this study of awareness of Indian government schemes along with the women entrepreneurs of Coimbatore district. This was held in 2019. Mass media and pulse polio advertising campaign 2017. Communicating immunization, the mass media start. This is also a kind of paper which was dealing with the polio. And this is a paper of Sri Lanka, advertising and rural communication. This paper was dealing with the communication strategy of the condom and the family planning. Apart from this, the paper health promotion or community development, health communication and development communication 2016, communication difficulties and the usage of communication strategies for the perspective of the individuals dealing with aphasia. Aphasia is a disease where the people can't express this, they can't speak properly and they can't write as well. So what were the communication strategies were used for these kind of people can be a study as well. Apart from this, the paper health communication strategies that address barriers preventing Black women from screening for breast cancer. This was the paper of the South Africa, where they were dealing with the breast cancer and how they encourage and promote the awareness of the breast cancer in this South Africa region, where the taboo, like India, there is also some taboos in the South Africa as well. Apart from this, the paper of Ms. Bamza in 1996 deals with the paradigm shift in communication strategies for health and family welfare programs. Now we need to note that family planning and women reproductive hygiene are the 2 different things. The government, all these schemes, they are dealing with the family planning, but not with the women hygiene and reproductive organs for the betterment or the healthy reproductive organs. This paper, leadership communication during the organizational change, international communication strategies, a study in international companies operating in Indonesia. These papers were the reports of UNO and the UNICEF, the communication for development, global process and the country level highlights across program areas, catalyzing personal and social change across gender, sexuality and HIV, impact evaluation in Nigeria, women, grassroots media, creating an effective communication strategies, a guide for global compact local network. Then these are the papers which were dealing with the ICT, where the communication was done by the technology. Communication strategy for the Swarna Jayanti Gram Swaraj Yojana, a study of 2 blocks of West Bengal, development, communication, and governance of the 3 major schemes in India. Here the 3 major schemes were highlighted by the author. Analyzing of social networking sites, a study of effective communication strategies and development of brand communication. I'll be dealing with the destructive research and the evaluation research, and I'll be segregating my research in the 11 districts. Apart from this, the conclusion of the papers and the reports which I have studied in this particular domain are that there were no separate communication strategies for the women empowerment schemes was used by the government. The same communication strategy which was using for all these schemes were done. All these schemes were used for the promotion of the women-centric schemes. Apart from this, government need to have the 360 media approach, which were missing in majorly papers. Sorry. Apart from this, government should take the responsibility to reach out to the women entrepreneurs as self-employment is being generated in the country, and we all are talking about small entrepreneurs. Then in the papers, I have seen that television was the most effective tool for health communication. Brand endorsement for polio was a successful, as we all know that Amitabh Bachchan and other personalities promoted the polio. And now in 2013, the Indian government has announced India as a free polio country. Information which was circulated should not be influenced by the politicians, the bureaucrats, whatever the schemes are there, whatever the policies are being disseminated, they should not be influenced by the politician or the any party agenda. It should be for the beneficiaries only. These three priorities: discipline, promote multidisciplinary training, and the operational training was focused by the government in these papers. There was no need of Mahila Swasthya Mandal, women health groups, link people and others, so that in the local self-government or in the rural areas on the grassroots level, it is very important to have the small groups of the associations and the NGOs, so that they can work for the awareness of these kind of schemes. So now the government has launched many portals, and we can see many apps, but the problem is the beneficiaries, the people for the schemes are made, they are not educated. There is a digital divide in the country, and they are dependent on the information providers. Again, there is a dependency from the information providers to the public. So here the education level, the technology exposure need to be keep in mind. These conclusions deal with that only. The usage of the new technology innovations and through involving new channels will attract the youth and the millennial. Para-social relationships, TV shows invited HIV positive people to interact and share their experience. Television series, talk shows, radio programs were conducted, which helped the people to come forward. As we can see, as a depression, when Deepika Padukone and other people came forward for the depression, and now the depression, the awareness for the depression is people are very much comfortable talking about depression. So here in the South Africa, they deal with the HIV positive and the breast cancers. They invited the patients in the programs who were successfully cured, and they talked about the problem they faced and which was their successful campaign. Apart from this, participatory communication need to be promoted. The traditional social movement need to be changed into the new social movement now, and a new grassroots media need to be conceptualized for the democratization. Apart from this, interactive national portal for e-learning for the beneficiaries are rural and the illiterate people did not fully benefited by the e-portal. Rural people are dependent on the information, education, and the communication given by the information providers. Education level of the citizens to keep in mind before framing the strategies. So these were my conclusions, and thank you so much everyone for listening me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neelam. You can stop the screen sharing.
Yes.
Dr. Shaheena, are there any questions for the presenter?
Yes, I just have a question about Neelam's presentation. Neelam, what promotional strategies do you think can be used by the advertising agencies to create awareness of the women-centric government schemes?
Now, first of all, the communication strategies need to be framed in a manner which can be understand it. It can be influence the ruler people basically. Sorry.
I think you need to drink water.
Okay. So the communication strategies need to be designed and framed in a manner which can be fully can be connected and can be understood by the illiterate people and people who are from the grassroots level, or the people who are very conservative in their mindsets. I'm not talking about the urban population. I'm not talking about the people who are educated. These schemes are for those people only, right? I won't be much influenced by the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, because I know that. But the people from the rural areas, we need to give them a better knowledge why these need to be implemented, and the grassroots level programs, folk media, panchayat, small women mandals need to be created. Not only communication strategies, we need to work on the grassroots level, like the NGOs are doing. So government should also come forward for these kind of communication strategies as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam, for your presentation and for the answer to the question. Sukriti, I think we can move on now.
Yes, ma'am. The next presentation is by Pragya Jain. She's a student of Amity School of Communication, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh.
Good morning, everyone. So the topic of my presentation is role of media in creating awareness about equal opportunity and support for the girl child. Progress has been made over how the media is portraying women in movies, TV, as well as publications over the last few years, have also seen an upsurge in the reach and power of women behind the sites in media. But besides the above, female prejudices survive and thrive within the mainstream press we use every day. Gender discrimination in digital content emerges as a result of both under and misrepresentation of women. Discrimination against girls has manifested itself in a variety of ways. They are judged more harshly than men, and they are presumed to be seen instead of heard. There is an old adage that learning is the greatest heritage parents can leave their children. This is because schooling is like a magnifying glass from which one can obtain or examine all aspects of societal development. It is no surprise that education has defined as being the most essential area of human growth and major element that ensures a successful life, particularly for girls. So the objective of my research was to gain knowledge on how media represents the girl child, to explore insights how media influences the opportunities given to the girl child in society, to understand the impact of media on gender equality, to evaluate the role of media and society in creating equal opportunities for the girl child. The United Nations has performed numerous studies, the results of which has consistently revealed a pattern of traditional beliefs and practices in which the boy child is still regarded as a superior or more capable than the girl child. The media is a reflection of society, and media reports reflect what is going on in society. The media has an enormous ability to influence the masses, and the communication and information technology revolution has only increased its importance. Unfortunately, today's media is straying from its true role and disseminating biased information, making societal development more difficult. The portrayal of women as equal citizens in society has received a little attention in the Indian media. Girls' perception of themselves and their futures are heavily influenced by media representations. Optimistic female role models in the mainstream press can boost girls' as well as women's confidence, contribute to making each other quite strong, or even support them quite toxic relationships. The mainstream media has become one of the avenues through which girl child's education can be affected. So I've done literature review in in three various themes. The first theme was media representation of girl child and the impact of media on gender parity. Second was girl child education, and the third was government initiatives for the girl child. Media representation of girl child and the impact of media on gender parity. In today's society, one of the really influential forms of socialization in generating gender values is media. Indeed, through daily visuals in print and television media, the mass media plays a major role in the communication of gender gap and inequality. The sexual objectification of young girls, particularly in fashion and advertising, is a worrying trend given that these stereotypes account for most of the portrayals of themselves that girls and women see in the media. Today's media, from traditional legacy media to online media, continues to have a significant impact on our understandings and thoughts about the role of girls and women in society. Unfortunately, we have seen that media tends to assert gender discrimination. According to research, children are affected by gender stereotypes that media presents to them from a young age. Cultural education. Many people in our country are oblivious of how education for girls can change life in a positive way. It is a sad situation when citizens from many socioeconomic backgrounds believe that investing in the education of girl child is a waste of time and money. Even more disheartening is the reality that they would rather clarify spending on their daughter's marriage expenses or dowry than on her education. Early education can play an important role in guiding society forward. Education also widened the definition of women's mindset, allowing them to better raise their children. She can then decide what is right for her and her family. Education enables one girl to become financially independent, allowing her to recognize her rights and contribute to fight against gender inequality. Through numerous schemes and programs, the government has made consistent efforts to elevate the status of the girl child in society and to incentivize her education. These have undoubtedly contributed to girls' education to some extent. The central government initiatives for girl child have already been initiated across India with the intent of enhances India's societal attitudes toward female children. These initiatives also aim to raise their social standing. The offline programs the government initiated are Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, National Scheme of Incentives to Girls for Secondary Education, and Balika Samriddhi Yojana. The digital programs that the government initiated are Girl Child Education Group on My Government portal, Digital Gender Atlas for Advancing Girls Education, Uran, ePathshala. So the research methodology will be followed by the mixed approach of primary and secondary data. Primary data will be was collected through focus group, and secondary data was collected through study of literature reviews, journals, periodicals, articles, etc. So data was collected from over 25 respondents through focus group survey, and they were contacted through a Google form. So this is an analysis of the questions asked from the respondents. Do programs aired on TV demonstrate equal opportunities for the girl child? There were 9 respondents who agreed, 5 respondents who didn't agree, and there were 11 respondents who gave a neutral response. They agree and they also disagree at the same time. Has the media played a role in maintaining certain traditional beliefs that discourage the education of the girl child? As seen, there were 12 respondents who agreed that media has played a role in maintaining certain traditional beliefs, 10 respondents who disagreed with this fact, and 3 respondents were neutral. How relevant is the media in promoting girl child education? Almost 22 respondents agreed with the fact that the media is the most relevant platform in promoting girl child education, whereas 3 respondents were against this. So concluding my presentation, this research unveils that the girl child continues to live in a highly patriarchal society. She seems to be shackled by the shackles of sex discrimination, which has denied her the capability to grow her wings and soar to new heights of achievement. Several advocacy voices, both international and national, have continued to rise to her change, to rise to change her fate. The study has shed light on media's significant contribution to shaping public opinion and determining how events unfold. Human rights are championed by the media. They serve as the public's eyes, ears, and voices, bringing attention to violations of the law and individual rights, often at great personal risk. Media was noted as a motivating authority and civil society organizations to make changes in order to improve people's life through their work. Nonetheless, the study has discovered despite declaring education a fundamental right, the nation faces a series of obstacles in trying to educate the girl child, mostly in the low literacy areas like the villages. The most significant impediment is families' traditional attitudes towards girls and their value in society. Girls are still constrained to the domestic daily grind in several parts of the country, particularly in rural areas. The study has given insights into the Indian government's initiatives to launch a number of policies and programs that ensure that no girl misses out on the opportunity to receive an education. The limitations were since it was a focus group survey, so there were only 25 respondents, so I couldn't collect more samples. The respondents were not providing descriptive answers. Some respondents were hesitant to reveal answers. Because the study was limited to India and a small region, even the research was unable to reach many regions. It does not reveal a pattern that is relevant to the nation's perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Pragya. Please stop sharing the screen.
Thank you very much, Pragya. I just have one question. What opportunities do you think the media can bring to the girl child in India?
Ma'am, the media is a platform that is a key platform to bring equal opportunities for the girl child. It can, increase the awareness of the girl child education in the rural areas as well. So by promoting these government initiatives through radio, specifically in those rural areas, as they have very less connectivity, and or moreover in developing areas. So the promotion of these girl child education initiatives and the policies done by the government, media can, educate the people towards bringing girl child, to giving them the equal opportunities that the girl child is lacking in today's world.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I have just one more question. Do we have time, Sukriti?
Yes, ma'am, we have time for another question.
Right. Pragya, could you just give us briefly what areas in India, in your opinion, suffer from gender inequalities?
Ma'am, what I personally feel the gender inequality starts from our house itself. If we start from rural areas, as mentioned in my presentation, girls are not given the priority of educating them. Instead, boys are preferred over girls, and they are, they are sent, they are educated, they are considered as the, the only person who will earn for the family, as he is a boy and he is supposed to be tough and manly. So he will earn for the family instead of a girl. So the inequality starts from our house itself. And if seen on a larger scale, the inequality can also be seen at the workspace in the pay inequality, as we have seen also in the, if we see in Bollywood, many male actors are paid more than the female actors. So we find gender equality at every step of our life, from our houses to our workplace to everywhere.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation and the answers to the questions. Sukriti, can we move on now?
Yes, ma'am. Our next presentation is by Dr. Namarta Joshi, Associate Professor, Head, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, GNDU, Jalandhar.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm talking on exploring sexuality of women in media. Basically, I've taken two media which are visual media, cinema and OTT platforms. So we'll start by talking about what the position of women is in Indian society. Uh, Basically, women from quite a number of centuries have been living a life of annihilation, kind of suppression of their identity, sacrificing in a lot of places in their daily life. And they have not been able to form an identity of their own in a male dominated patriarchal society. Most of our art and literature also are based on such kind of in such kind of context. Uh, though we have it is a cliche term, but we talk about India as a land of Kama Sutra, land of Khajuraho, sculptures and all that. But basically what we have seen in the Indian society is that there no cognizance has been taken of females' desires, female pleasures. Where men are concerned, there are numerous examples of their fantasies, expression of their innermost feelings, sexual desires and everything else. But women, where women are concerned, sexual feelings especially, this expression. So my study is based on two media, visual media, cinema and next please. Sukriti, next, please. Huh? Where cinema is concerned, we've talked about various art forms, whether it is paintings, whether it is sculptures. It has mainly shown female form rather than the feelings in the society. But whereas cinema is concerned, cinema also has, since the time it has come, it is almost 150 years now, almost. So we can say that cinema has created stereotypes which accord with the society. And we see that women basically are suffering, they are sacrificing, they are pure, virginal. And hero can be, obviously, he can stalk, he can even rape and still be a hero. So this kind of stereotype is there, and any woman who is expressive of her desires is usually painted in gray or negative tones. She's either a heroine or a vamp. So in recent films, especially since we have come into multiplex cinema or indie cinema, independent cinema that we call, uh, since then some experimentation has have definitely been done, and some taboo subjects like premarital sex, sperm donation, surrogacy, extramarital affairs, all these have been openly discussed. And we have films on alternate sexuality, and recently we had a film on lavender marriages also. So Indian audience has evolved to the extent that they are accepting such fare. And some of these films have also shown us another perspective or another side of female desires. Next, please. Sukriti, next, please. So recently what has happened is that we have had another, you can say, revolution in the form of information superhighway. And with this, we have had OTT platforms, various OTT platforms, where web series are being screened, Disney, Hotstar, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and many others. Many of these web series have women-centric subjects. They are handling some intimate and some personal and some bold topics, especially with women as the central characters. So when we are talking about cinema, I've taken, next please. Now, why have taken up the study at this time? Definitely, this is a very appropriate time where women subjects related to women, because women studies or subjects related to women, they are the center stage. And especially since OTT platforms are the buzzword, the new buzzword. So it was an appropriate time to take up this study. My objectives are to basically explain the situation of women in Indian society and arts, and to study the search of sexual identity by women in Hindi films and then in OTT platforms. Okay, so it is basically a textual or narrative analysis of some selected films. I've taken up 4 or 5 films and then 4 or 5 OTT web series. Films are Astitva, Rihai, Manmarsiyan, Veere the Wedding and Lipstick Under by Burqa, and OTT series are Bombay Begums, 4 More Shots Please, Mirzapur, Love Stories, and Made in Heaven. Obviously, web series as such are a lot more, but I've taken these selected web series. So if I may go ahead with women, physical relationships of a women outside the marriage, they emerge out of their loneliness, where men are into relationships and women, they are left alone and are into a state of mind where they get into a relationship. Rihai was in a sense more progressive, because ultimately the male characters, the male protagonist, he stands in support of the female stance, which says that if men can do it, why not women? So that kind of premise is there for both the films. But whereas in Astitva, the family does not come out in support of the woman, in Rihai they do. So the premise in both the films is that okay, if men can have affairs, so can women, because they are not being paid in attention to, they are being ignored, and therefore it's kind of, I would not say justified, but it is a kind of a justification for their relationships. The next film which I have taken is Manmarsiyan. Manmarsiyan, if we are talking about, it is from a small town in Punjab called Amritsar. It's a very personal thing also, but I have actually questioned about whether such behavior goes in small towns like Jalandhar or Amritsar. But a kind of open sexual behavior is by women, the openness by the woman protagonist is shown in this film. The film is basically about choices of women in love and the institution of marriage. So one is love, one is arranged kind of a relationship. But ultimately, the heroine or the woman character, she tries to uh, go in for the conventional thing and not the fiery kind of relationship she has with her boyfriend. So it is a love triangle basically, but in an unconventional way. It is a no hold bar love, which I have not personally seen in a small town like of Punjab, but they've shown it, and the boyfriend, he does not want to commit, and the other person is shown to be very settled and kind of accepted by parents also. But the choices are not simple as shown in the film also. The next film which I have taken after Manmarsiyan is Veere the Wedding. Veere the Wedding, I again feel, is a kind of rebellion against the kind of bromance films like Zindagi Fir Na Milegi Dobara. Some people have pejoratively called it a chick flick. So a set of friends who are together going in for a trip and having their own separate problems. So it is about female bonding and empathy also, and also they are showing an aspect wherein these women are trying to understand their own sexuality in their own space without the restrictions of the society. But again, I would like to remind here that this film belongs to a particular strata of society where they can go abroad, they can party, they can do different things, go dining and wining. And but here also I can say that these women are also human and therefore identifiable. So they take pleasure in getting together and covering each other. So this was one, because this film was one in a kind, different from the kind of films that have come in through the era. So this was a kind of a very interesting study. But it was never the women issues. Empowerment actually is never the focus. The last film which I have taken, and which was kind of one of the most controversial films, was Lipstick Under the Burqa.
Ma'am, I might interrupt
Definitely
you.
that film was...
Namarta ma'am, can you hear me? Yeah, I would request you to please conclude your presentation in the next 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. I'll just discuss the film and then come on to the OTT. So Lipstick Under My Burqa again shows women's sexual desires at different levels. In this again is not a very elitist society, and is a kind of lower middle class society that we are talking about. They have fantasies of their own, and they dream to go much beyond their home and hearth. And the burqa, or the restrictions here, burqa is an implication for the restrictions imposed, so that is not their choice. Next, I come to OTT platforms. Again, the web series, all the web series that I've taken, they are kind of replication of the films that I've taken. They are either female bonding or expression of their sexuality. I'll come to the conclusion now. My conclusion actually is more than I've written. I feel that when we are showing feminism or women empowerment, we are basically talking of unabashed sexual relationships, promiscuity, or we are talking of wining and dining. From stereotypical, we are trying to go to the other end of the spectrum. And Indian media has changed over the years. Definitely some things are being experimented. But what direction it will take from this end is a matter of debate. A kind of forced sexual identity will not solve the problem of all the women over the ages that they have had. You cannot kind of counter male gaze with a female gaze. Okay, women empowerment in my view is much more than that, but definitely whereas female perspective is concerned, a beginning has already been made, and this is what matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Namarta ma'am.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Namarta Joshi.
Thank you.
Wonderful to hear this aspect of stereotypes. I have two quick questions. The first one is, what in your opinion are the reasons for the prevalence of stereotypes of women in India?
You are talking about the earlier ones, the suffering women.
Yes.
Ma'am, one thing is there, even the film industry is a male-dominated one. It has remained a male-dominated. male-dominated one. So the stereotypes have also been there. Even women have not been able to break that mold. But definitely, as I said, in the new millennium, some taboos and new subjects are being, so stereotypes are also being broken now. It is not to say that over the period 150 years we have not seen films which have not broken these stereotypes. Way back in 1932, we a film called Duniya Na Mane. So in 32 we had women centric films which had shown women to break those taboos. So but they were few and far between. Now it is more in number.
Thank you. Sukriti, do we have time for another question?
We're actually very paused for time, but
Yes,
please go ahead.
Hello.
We can take up.
How successful will your study be in establishing the content of films and OTTs in exploring the issue of women's sexuality?
Ma'am, I believe both experimental cinema and OTT platforms are a recent phenomena. So they are in a kind of a transitional phase. Okay, so it will take some time for them to widen the net, if I may say so, to widen the net to be more balanced. We had films like Thappad, which I reviewed for one of the journals. They just with one slap, you are seeking a divorce. So I called it radical feminism. So we are in this stage kind of rebelling against the earlier stereotypes. So it will take time to balance out. And I suppose with the coming of new experimental, new directors, female directors, we'll kind of come level. And my study, I think I can put forward my views and through conferences like this, if some filmmakers and creative people, they are watching this, I think my point can get across.
Right. Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I think we can go on with the next one. Thank you once again, Dr. Namrata Joshi.
Thank you,
Our
ma'am.
next presenter is R. Shravani, student of Amity School of Communication, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh. And while she turns on her camera, I would like to acknowledge and welcome Dr. Manaswini. She's also here. She has joined us today for this technical session. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Shravani, you can now begin with your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present my paper. Today, I'll be presenting my research paper on influence of Indian media on queer representation. And these are the topics that I would be covering in today's presentation. First, starting with the introduction. So to start with, queer is an umbrella term used for LGBTQ plus community. It includes people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, asexual, intergender, non-gender, and other members of the community. The research paper aims to assess the how LGBTQ are represented in the Indian media. It also tries to comprehend the impact of LGBTQ community after the decriminalization of Section 377. So the major issue with the whole 377 was that the Indian law decriminalized, stating that any sexual activity conducted between two individuals who are not heterosexual would be considered as a crime. And for that same thing, the crime would be same penalty as the heinous crime as rape. In 2017, it was decriminalized and stating that it was against the human rights and the rights given to Indian citizens under this Part 3 of the Constitution. So the major objectives of my research paper are to analyze the media portrayal of LGBT people in India. It also aims to understand the effect of Section 377, so decriminalization of the LGBT population. It also attempts to understand how queer people are represented in the real world and how it translates into the real world. The primary aim of the research is to learn about the future of Indian media. For this, I have taken a literature review in three folds. That is, the first one looks at the Indian outlook at the LGBT presentation before the British Raj. It was found by, according to Pandey 2018 research, it was found that British Raj had set the stage for India's anti-homosexual prejudice, which intensified after the independence. In that research, it was also found that India was a very pro-LGBT, stating that there were homosexual activities which were acknowledged openly, but it was after the British Raj that people started to see homosexuality as a crime. And then the second part of the literature review looks at the Indian exposure, which is like before the decriminalization of 377, how Indian media portrayed the LGBTQ. According to CORD 27 research paper, it was said that Indian media is infamous for its portrayal of LGBTQ with their cliche portrayal and stereotypical representation. However, some directors have offered an educated perspective on the sexuality. And the last fold of the literature review covers about the media after decriminalization of this 377, which is looking at media's representation of the LGBTQ after the decriminalization. It was noted by Group 2018 research paper that media portrayal can be beneficial for LGBTQ, particularly to adolescents, by giving them role models and a sense of belonging to the community. The research paper also looks at the different little other aspects of the LGBTQ, which also looks at the growth of medias coming out of this cell and exploring the new field of LGBTQ, and also explores the dark side of the LGBT, that is the conversion therapy and harassment in workplaces that has been observed in the Indian culture. For this, I had taken a primary research. For that, I had collected data from 100 respondents, irrespective of the geography. It was surveyed through online sites and peer groups, so that's why there was no restriction on the age, demographics, or gender. But the data was collected was between the age group of 16 to 58, and there was no restriction. There were about 10 to 13 questions, but I'll be looking at majorly 3 questions, which gave me a broad insight into the research. So the first one is this: Instagram and other social media platforms have been forefront for promoting LGBT culture and activism. So this showed me that 77% of the respondents feel that internet and social media are the platforms where they learn about the LGBTQ group, and Instagram and other social media handles have been the forefront in helping the queer allies to bring forward the information and share the information. The other question that I had asked was about the Indian media's perspective. So 47% of the respondents said that they don't feel Indian media has been a go-to source for their knowledge about LGBT. Indian media has struggled to develop a relationship with their viewers where they can provide a substantial quality information about the queer community. Indian media is still lagging behind to provide that kind of information. And the other one, which was to understand the recent, after the decriminalization, which is the recent movies, to understand how it is being translated. So 40% of the respondents said that it is not translating into the older generation, meaning that even though the recent movies have made it to the mainstream, but it is not still mainstream in the older generation, where people are still apprehensive of the concept of understanding that there are different sexual identities and people can have different sexual preferences. 40% of them said that their older generation, their family members don't feel comfortable talking about the same. This research would be helpful in understanding the further implications would be to create an alternative content and characters that would be helpful in providing an alternative narrative and give a accurate representation of how it is, like how people want them to be represented, which would help in targeting the LGBTQ community, which are seen as like a minority, and give an inclusive perspective to the whole community and give like a better mirror of the society on the real world. The next would be to shift the perspective and embrace the modernity, that is to make the older generation be comfortable and help them understand like why there is a change in the whole representation and sexual identities, because older generations have a very crucial role in an adult's or a young adult's life and how they are treated at their home. So if the older generation are not acceptive of their society, of their members, it would play a negative role on their family members and the youth also. And then the last one would be to gain knowledge and to expand the LGBT community screen. That is, this research would help to understand that people are acceptive, they are trying to slowly understand the LGBTQ. So there is a lot of scope to expand the screen space given to the LGBTQ members in Indian screen. Further discussions based on this research papers could be the legal aspects. The police departments and hospitality, particularly sexual health facilities, legal professionals and court need to make efforts that are inclusive of the LGBTQ. Not just saying that there are laws is not enough, because people are still being oppressed and being minoritized, and they have to face a lot of sexual harassment also. The next discussion would be for the media houses to expand their horizons and be more inclusive and dedicate more efforts to do the research and not just make a generic statement, because it is a very diverse and a dynamic community which is changing, and they need to understand that nuances to have a better outlook. And then the future, because there is a lot more that needs to be done. The Transgender Act, first state, the 2019 Transgender Act was a very progressive step. The other steps also need to be taken, like the equal marriage rights, inheritance, adoption, and the other aspects of the community needs to given the same equal rights. To conclude the whole paper, I would like to summarize it into three major categories: that media outlets are not taking enough steps and necessary steps to represent the reality and the harsh reality, I would say. And the second would be that India needs to, as India is very open about their heritage, it needs to understand that LGBT criminalization was a post-colonial era, the British era. It needs to understand that before that, the Indian culture was very acceptive, and it has historical representations and historical proof that it was a pro-LGBT, and it included LGBTQ members and had homosexual activities in open. And the last, even though there is not enough steps, but we cannot forget how media is actually taking up the necessary steps, and we need to acknowledge those efforts, even if those are not the best yet, but they are up to there and they are bringing a change, and it has made a very significant impact on the youth by giving them role models, giving them a screen space to be felt at a place where they can see themselves and be felt associated and feel a part of this society. These are few of the references that have been yardsticks in my research paper, which have provided me a lot of insights into the history of LGBT in Indian society. Thank you so much once again, for giving me the opportunity to present, and I'll be happy to answer further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shravani. I just have one quick question.
Yes.
How successful do you think your study will be in determining the future of Indian media?
I feel my research would be really helpful because my research was, even though it had like a diverse age group, but the majority of the answers came in from the young adults, that was from the 16 to 25 age group. So the respondents were so positive that they felt that the Indian media is doing something, the social media is doing something, and they are very acceptive about the concept of LGBT on the screen, whereas the adult generation is not as acceptive of the concept yet. So this would help the Indian media to navigate that, because young adults need to feel safe at their home. If the adults are not acceptive of that concept, they would not feel accepted, and that would have a very negative impact on their mental health, physical health, and how they are communicating with the others also. Because if they don't have a proper guidance, it would negatively impact, and they might be negatively influenced by the others also in this, because India is a very diverse country. So getting negative information or bad influence is just matter of few clicks. The internet is filled with too much information. So it is important for the media to represent those inclusive idea and include other media channels and parents in this, because it is seen in the foreign.
Shavini, I would ask you to please conclude your answer.
Sorry. So it was seen in the foreign also that when the parents are acceptive, then the family dynamics is also very niche and like very inclusive for the young adults.
Right. Thank you very much, Shavni, for your presentation. Yes, Sukriti, I think we can move on to the next presenter now.
Yes. The next presenter is Arzu Sharma.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. Our presentation topic is gender equality and household chores, a survey-based case study. Gender inequalities and gender neutrality in relation to a deeper knowledge and evaluation of women and men's current responsibilities in home work and parenting. Workplace fitness psychology encourages a risk avoidance strategy that helps both the company and the employee as well as the work-family interaction. It seeks a good fit between these measurements in order to eliminate psychological hazards at work while also improving job performance. Not only does the social backdrop influence the general division of family labor, but it also influences the dynamics of male-female negotiation. The study main goal is to determine what categorization bases are used to divide domestic responsibilities between men and women. And in order to achieve this goal, the research will employ a mixed strategy of primary and secondary data. The primary data will come from primary research, which will be collected by survey and questionnaire. Secondary data will be gathered from journals, publications, and academic papers as a part of secondary research. Objective of the study is first, to find out on what categorical basis household chores are divided among men and women. And the second is to understand the women unequal domestic involvement is linked to increased family work. Then due to lack of time, intense pressure and participation behavioral requirements, people may experience a contradiction between their professional and personal lives. Although the majority of the focus of work at home studies the being on how modification in work home life from the perspective of a conflict between the two areas. Departmental thinking has begun to investigate how family adaptability affect job, production, and happiness. Role compulsion at the workplace and at home has been found to have a bidirectional harmful effect. Consequently, the level of participation in the home part will create challenges for involvement in work, resulting in home work conflict. Similarly, the level of participation in work land can delay production on the family role, resulting in an increase in stream-based, time-based, or behavior-based work-home conflict. Gender views are opinions about gender and values that support what is right for men and women from an ethnic and long viewpoint, influence the patterns by which a certain society judges or rates a man or woman's proper behavior. Gender ideas are also being reintroduced into social communications as couples routinely renew the law that governs social contacts and mention the required attribute that men and women differ regardless of socio-political circumstances. This statement asserts that men and women have distinct innate talents for household tasks and work outside the home, that these differences influences job selection, and that women preferences for home over work in a personal choice. Then is the research methodology. The many process that a researcher takes in order to undertake substantial primary or secondary research based on the topic matter are referred to as research methodology. Various instruments, data, gathering methods, the number of respondents, and the study objectives are included in this technique. A survey using a structured or standardized questionnaire was used to collect the primary data. This entails getting first-hand information from respondents by personally asking them questions. Exploratory and descriptive investigations were used in the primary research. The focus is on accumulating experience and familiarity in preparation for future study or when topics are still being examination. A questionnaire was devised to gain a full picture of the effects of gender equality in domestic tasks. The survey question is, the first question is asked, do men in your family contribute to household chores? The 30% people said that weekly, and 40% said that rarely, and the 30% every day, and the 0% is never. Second question is, do men in your community believe that work is gender neutral? And the third one is, when do men in your family contribute to household work? In the next question, how does sharing the workload impact the men and women family? Most of the people said that it increases the productivity of the work. Also, it reduces stress and make it life happy. And then next is, keep men and women of the family feel lesser burdened and more balanced. Next question is there a work in family that is only for the women of the family? Most of the saying that is giving birth. And findings of my study is, the respondents of the primary research were mainly contribution. These represented the show how much men in your family contribute to doing household chores. According to the analysis, the contribution is most rarely doing work in the house. The most respondents prefer certain job or comment according to job that community believe that work is gender neutral. Only 65.6% respondents said yes, that work is gender neutral. These does working in the kitchen have an impact on the environment? 65.6% respondents said that yes, that working in the kitchen have most impact on their family, children, and the environment. Next slide, ma'am. Conclusion is, first, the data confirm unfairness, the revealing that women's engagement in household activities is more than double that of men. Men also participate in traditionally masculine domestic duties such as home repairs and family administrations, whereas women participate in traditionally feminine chores, childcare, or shopping. This difference is symmetrically verified by the subject's estimates of the partner's engagement in domestic tasks. Women view their male partner's involvement in domestic tasks to be significantly less than men consider their female partner's involvement. Second, when it came to work-family interactions, we wanted to examine if such disparities in involvement were related to men and women in distinct ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arzu, for your presentation. I think this is the last presentation, so I just have one quick, very short question, Arzu.
Yes.
What is the reason for selecting married couples for the study?
Ma'am, because in that time there is a lot of increase the work. After marriage, we have a child and lots of responsibilities to do for child. We conclude the many responsibilities to give our best as a parentinghood, and that's why I'm choosing this topic. Equality distribution for men and women according to their work, because both of they are working in the out of the house for their child and for their better future.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sukriti, does that bring us to the end of this session?
Yes, ma'am. And now I invite you for your concluding remarks on the session overall.
Right. Dr. Susmita Bala, good to see you here. Thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to chair the session. You know, this is something that I had never imagined, and I'm particularly thankful to Dr. Wajiha Raza Rizvi for recommending my name. It came out of the blue, but was a very welcome opportunity because it allowed me to listen to viewpoints that may not have been new, but very welcome in the sense that it's always good to know that there are other people thinking on the same lines as you. We've had some wonderful presentations today, and I see that the house is practically full of participants also. I hope students and colleagues have benefited from the presentations. It's always a welcome opportunity to interact with colleagues, and it's especially welcome when it's across borders. Within our small, limited academic circles, we do interact, but it's more welcome when we manage to cross borders and to find out that they're not all that different. And it's not only skin color and language that we share, but we also share a lot of the basic ideas. So thank you, Dr. Saxena and Dr. Susmita for giving me this opportunity. It's been wonderful listening to all the presentations and hearing all the different viewpoints. Thank you particularly to Sukriti. She's been putting up with me and all my questions. And it's been a wonderful technical session. Thank you all very much. And it's goodbye from my side now.
You're very welcome, ma'am. I would now like to invite Dr. Susmita Bala, Head DME Media School and Chief Associate Convener of ICAN, to please give the concluding remarks here.
Thank you, Sukriti. It's my pleasure, Shaheena ma'am. You are here and chair this session on gender neutrality, sexuality, and representation of women and the other sex. It was a brainstorming session, the real session. There were many students presenting their papers in this session. It was heartening to note that the students, both of UG and PG, are coming forward to write and present papers. This is a healthy trend in media education and research. In fact, while planning ICAN conference, we decided to create this space to so that future academic and researchers can be prepared. We are contended that global era students grab this opportunity. I'm happy to note that these young researchers are talking about breaking stereotypes of gender bias and thinking about better opportunities for girl child. Representation of women in media and other spaces has always been a debatable subject. It is good that young media researchers are picking up their research topics around this subject. In this session, Dr. Sapna presentation was very nice. Dr. Namrata Joshi presented very nicely, and the student scholars, some presented very nice, and some need to some clarification in questionnaire and all. But overall, this was very good, and मेरे ख्याल से सबको ही बहुत अच्छा लगा होगा, and students ने बहुत efforts किए हैं. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bala. I would like to remind all the presenters to please stay in this meeting so that we can have a group photo at the end of the session. Also, I would like to inform everybody that the best paper of this session will be announced in the next technical session. Thank you. And now I hand over to Jay Sirohi for concluding the program.
With this, we come to the conclusion of technical session 1. My foremost and heartfelt thanks to the session expert for sharing her valuable insights about the theme, gender neutrality, sexuality, and representation of women and the other sex. Sincere thanks to management of DME, Aman Sahni, Vice Chairman, Justice Bhavar Singh, Director General, Professor Dr. Ravikant Swami, Director DME, for their support in every endeavors being taken by DME Media School. Heartfelt thanks to Dean Media School, Professor Dr. Ambrish Saxena, Head Media School, Professor Dr. Sushmita Bala, for their motivation in planning and executing the flagship event of Media School. Thanks to Dr. Manaswi Maheshwari, Associate Professor and Associate Convener of ICAN5 for overall coordination for the International Media Conference. Thanks to Sumantra Sarthidas and Vishal Sahai, Assistant Professors, and Yogesh Sharma, Faculty at Media School, for digital and production support for ICAN5. Thanks to Manmeet Kaur, Associate Professor, and Pramod Kumar Pandey, Assistant Professor, for their efforts in supporting ICAN5. Thanks to Shruti VS, Assistant Professor, Media School. She has supported ICAN5 as the convener for cultural team and student coordination. Thanks to Shruti, Mohammed Kamil, and Sukriti Arora, Assistant Professors, for newsletter, press briefings, and media coordination support. Dr. Ritika Saxena, Assistant Professor for Designing and Creative Support. Samia Parvez and Dr. Sumeda for their support with social media management. All student coordinators from newsletter, production, hospitality, anchoring, cultural, and digital operations for their coordination and consistent efforts for the conference. Special thanks to our conference partner, knowledge partners, international partners, and media partners.